Our lesson today is special products. Good news is, it's actually just shortcuts for foiling. So the truth is, you don't have to know or memorize any of these shortcuts, as far as my class is concerned anyway. So if this is better for you to just have a good review of FOIL, that's fine. But I think particularly the third one, you can see there is a benefit to it if you can remember it. So these are shortcuts. These are the special products. There's three types that we'll talk about. All of them can be solved using FOIL. But if you recognize these three special products, you can solve them in an even faster way. So the first special product is the square of a sum. So it is named because it is squaring the sum of two things being added together. You must remember that squaring means times itself. So a plus b squared is not a squared plus b squared. You can't just square each piece individually. Instead, it's a plus b times a plus b. So let's FOIL and see what happens. So we get a squared plus ab plus ab again. Sorry, I should have done ba, right? This is correct. I just drew the wrong line. Then b times b is b squared. And you notice we have two like terms in the middle. So that's 1ab plus 1ab. So we can combine that to be 2ab. So this pattern is true anytime you have something plus something all being squared. So you could write it in words if you want to. It's the square of the first. I'm just abbreviating, calling it the first. It's the first term. It's the a, or whatever's in that spot. Square of the first plus 2 times the first times the second. That's this middle term. 2 times the first term plus the second term plus the second term squared. So if you ever have something where the same thing's being multiplied by itself and there's an addition in the middle, if you can recognize what the first term is, you just square it, then add 2 times these two multiplied by each other plus the second one squared. So this might seem really abstract or off the wall or just what in the world are we talking about. I think if we do a couple examples, you'll see what I mean. So again, you could FOIL these. You could just rewrite it as 3x plus 5 times 3x plus 5 and FOIL it, and the answer would be perfectly correct. But here's the way to use the shortcut. 3x is our a, because it's our first term. 5 is our b. So if we just follow this pattern right here, it's telling us we square the 3x plus do 2 times 3x times 5 plus 5 squared. So you see all I've done is I've replaced everywhere we had an a with 3x, replaced everywhere we had a b with 5. So we have to square both the 3 and the x, giving us 9x squared. 2 times 3 is 6, times 5 is 30. We keep the x. Then 5 squared is 25. So instead of FOILing, you can do it that way. So let's do the same here with example 2. This time 8c is our a, and 3d is our b. But you can see, even though they didn't start it off written as squared, it is the same thing where addition's happening, being multiplied by itself. So I'd square the first one, plus 2 times the first one, times the second one, plus the second one squared. You do have to make sure you put parentheses around this first term and the second term, because you've got to square not only the variable, but also the number, the coefficient. So we simplify that. 8 squared is 64. c squared. 2 times 8 is 16. 16 times 3 is 48. You just keep the c and the d with it. 3 squared is 9. t squared. Now I'll say it again. If you're like, this is more work trying to remember the shortcut, I'm okay with that. I want to show this to you so you can see some patterns and see how some systems work. But if you see these problems on the quiz or test, you're welcome to just FOIL them like normal, because you'll still get the correct answer. Now the second special product is very similar. Instead of the square of a sum, it's the square of a difference. So the only difference is we have a minus in between instead of a plus. So let's FOIL and see what this one turns out to be. Do the first, the outer, the inner, and the last. And notice, because it's a negative b times a negative b, it's positive b squared. So this simplifies to a squared minus 2ab, because that's a 1 and a 1. So negative 1 minus 1 is negative 2 plus b squared. So if you look back up at our result for the square of a sum, it's exactly like this, except we had a plus sign here, but now I have a minus. Otherwise, they're identical. So if it's helpful to write it in words, you do the square. Let's just write it this way. First one squared two times the first times the second, and then second one squared. Should put pluses in between there, sorry. Plus, plus. So the pattern is identical to the square of a sum, except, oh, and there it is right there. Not plus, minus. So sorry, gotta be careful. So that's the only difference. It's the whole pattern is the same as the square of a sum, except we're subtracting that middle term instead of adding it. So I will write the pattern right here so we can use it to help us on these examples. So our first term here, remember this is just times itself, so it's the same thing. Our first term here is 2x. That's our a. Our second term is b, 5y. Now I want to be clear. B is not a negative 5y. The minus is already being accounted for in the way this is set up. So b is not negative 5y. B is just 5y. So we do the first one squared minus 2 times the first one, the a, times the second one, b, plus the second one squared. When we simplify this, 2 squared is 4. We get x squared. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 5 is 20. And we keep the x and the y. 5 squared is 25. And y squared. So we'll try one more, and then you'll see the last special products, but I think you'll understand why that one is pretty nice and quick. So here we're multiplying the same thing by itself, and it's subtracting, so it's the square of a difference. Our a is 6p, our b is positive 1. So we do the first term squared minus 2 times the first term times the second term. And we add the second term squared. 6 squared is 36. P is p squared. 2 times 6 is 12, times 1 is still 12, and we keep the p with it. And then 1 squared is 1. And I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. If you don't like these shortcuts, you don't have to use them. I'm not going to require you to memorize these. I just want to show them to you so you can learn the patterns, as I said. But if you just want to FOIL these to find the answer, that is no problem. But the last one is the most fun. The product of a sum and a difference. So this time the terms are the same, like it's the same in the front, it's the same in the back, but one of them we're adding, one of them we're subtracting. So check out what happens in this case. We'll do FOIL. A times A is A squared. A times negative B is negative AB. B times positive A is positive AB. Then B times negative B is negative B squared. So take a second look, make sure you understand the signs that we got for each one of these. Just like the others, we do have like terms right here. But unlike the others, these have opposite signs from each other, so they just cancel out. Negative 1AB plus 1AB is 0AB, so it's gone. All that's left is A squared minus B squared. So it's just first one squared minus second one squared. So hopefully you can see how this one really can be a shortcut if you recognize it when you see it, because that's the one tricky part with these. It's tempting to use these shortcuts, especially this one because it's so quick on everything, but we can only use it when the terms are identical, except one's a plus, one's a minus. And just, it doesn't matter if the plus is first or second. This would be the same as this. So it matters not whether the first is plus, the second is negative, or vice versa. It's just they have to have opposite signs, one positive, one negative, or one plus, one minus. So check out how quick and easy this one is. You see this is one of those cases because we have the exact same terms, 2x squared and 3, but one of them they're being added, one of them they're being subtracted. So all we have to do is do the first one squared minus the second one squared. 2 squared is 4. X squared squared means we have to do 2 times 2, get x to the 4th. 3 squared is 9. Now that I do think is a lot easier and quicker than FOIL. Okay, this one, we do the first one squared minus second one squared. And we get 16c squared minus 49d squared. So those are 3 special products. I don't know why they call them special, but they are special in the sense that they have some shortcuts, I suppose. And as I will say for the last time in this video, if you don't want to use the shortcuts, that is 100% fine. I will not require you to use them or memorize them. If you'd prefer to just FOIL, feel free to just do that. But I do think if you can remember it, the third one really can save you time.